What's up everyone, Nick Peroni here, and today I want to show you inside a dropshipping store that has done $1.4 million in sales in the last 2 months. And I recently made a video talking about how in July scaled a brand new store to $738,000 in a single month dropshipping in sales. And then in August, this is the following month exactly as I record this. August just ended. Now the sales did go down a little bit here. I'm going to talk about this. You can see performance started to drop towards the end of the month, and we did $673,000 in sales, which is still a really big number, and still happy with that, of course. But over the last 2 months, then as you can see the live look here, it is $1.4 million in sales. Now, a little bit of context on this store. This is a store that's only several months old. So this store started in March, at the end of March, okay? Look, I'll show you here when the store actually started. So you can see that there were no sales happening up until the 26th, right? So this store started on March 27th, was making sales the very first day, and then within the first month, basically the first 30 days, over $100,000 in sales, right? If you look at April, hit 6 figures that first month. And then since then, if we just look at April until now, which is 5 months, right? 5 months, $1.8 million in sales, with the highest month being in July. Okay, so now what I want to talk about here is just give you like everything, right? I want to show you what happened with this store. Of course, I'm not going to show you the actual store product itself because it's still a live store, right? But I want to show you just like the structure, how this happened, how this was done, how you can start a new store, scale it quickly to 6 figures, and eventually be doing $1.4 million in sales in a span of 2 months. All right, so the first thing I want to talk about when we start looking at this is actually the testing phase. Okay, so I will mention, just as I guess just as some context again, that this is not being drop shipped with AliExpress. I'm using a private supplier. I'll put a link below the video if you are interested in checking out the supplier that I'm using. Basically, they're offering a premium special line shipping to the US, which is where 95% of the customers are coming from. This product did sell worldwide a little bit. It just didn't, well, let's say 90% of the customers. It did sell worldwide a little bit, but it's more of an American type of product. So it's been scaled in America, and that's where the main shipping is. But I also shipped to some of the top 5, Australia, New Zealand, United Kingdom, these kinds of countries, where there's premium special line shipping to all of them that can get there in about anywhere less than 2 weeks generally. All right, so I would say anywhere from 8 to 12 days. And the thing that's cool about the supplier that I'm using is basically they have a virtual warehouse, so custom packaging that they helped me set up for the product to improve the customer experience, and then of course buying in bulk to fulfill faster. So they keep inventory in the warehouse, and they are I'm fulfilling a bulk order like every week basically to stay ahead of the inventory. So it's like 24 hours processing time, gets out the next day, is getting delivered to the customer in generally less than 2 weeks, sometimes as quickly as like 7 or 8 days if they're on the east or west coast, because shipping is quicker there. So drop shipping is still 100% possible right now, even with COVID. Shipping is a little bit more costly. So one of the things that you want to remember if you're getting into drop shipping, or even if you are in drop shipping now, is selling high value, let's put it this way, high perceived value products. Okay, And basically what I mean by high perceived value is something that you can sell with a markup for a good price, right? Like the product that is selling on this store is $6 to source. That's not with shipping costs. That's just the product cost itself. It's $6 to source, but it's something that we can sell for $65 because there's a very high perceived value to the use that it provides. Okay, whether this is going to be high perceived value in use, like it solves some sort of problem, or high perceived value in life quality, I guess, improving the quality of life, some kind of convenience, something that improves people's confidence, right? The high perceived value is important. A lot of people simply don't win with drop shipping because they sell products that they can't mark up for a real profit, right? You generally want to sell something that has, after cost of goods, something that has at least a $25 profit margin, to be able to, if you're going to be using Facebook ads, right? Because look, I'll tell you, Facebook ads are very simple, but there's an inherent cost there, right? When you're testing, and we're going to talk about testing in a minute here, when you're testing with your ad budgets, you're going to see that at scale, right? Like, so at testing, okay, testing and retargeting, you can be getting cheap cost per purchase, say sub $10, sub $15, right? Which we were doing with this store as well when it was initially running, okay? Sub $15 cost per purchase. But once you start scaling, you're generally going to see your cost per purchase rising to the mid 20s. Okay. Now we have a $40 margin on this product, and that's why it's something that can be scaled with Facebook ads aggressively, because we can afford cost per purchases all the way up to, like $30, in some cases even higher than that, where the profit margin is lower, but the volume is good. And so we're still able to make money on that. All right. And it's going to be different from product to product. Some you can scale with a better cost per purchase. But look, even if you look at some of the biggest name advertisers in the e-com space right now, you're going to see, if they share their data, if they share reports, that their average cost per purchase is probably going to be in the mid 20s. All right. So you want to have something that has a high perceived value, because here's the deal with this store that I'm showing you. This is all money that's being made on the front end, basically. Like, we're not putting them into some long email sequence. There's just an abandoned cart sequence, and there's the retargeting ads. And the retargeting ads, I'll show you the funnel that we're using here on the retargeting funnel. All right, so I don't mind showing you this, because there's really nothing here to see except for how the funnel is working. Now, I could probably be spending more aggressively on the retargeting ads, but as you see here, it works very well to build out a funnel like this. And this is the one that I use, where I'm setting up, first of all, targeting people who viewed at least 50% of the video, but not the full thing, is a great audience. And then setting up breaking out the sequence of views and add to cart by days, and showing them a different type of content in each one of these, so that you can be more fresh in showing them your ads, and you can actually stick with them over a longer period of time. This is meant to be a funnel that walks people through the retargeting sequence. All right. Now, in starting this, I only started with, and I only ever do this, I only recommend, if you're getting, sub 1,000 visitors a day, that you're just setting up your basic views and add to cart retargeting audiences. Okay. And that's what these are here. But then eventually, when you're starting to get thousands of visitors a day, you want to break it out into a longer sequence, so that you can actually really, the purpose of this is you're building out a funnel so that you can follow up with people longer and show them more content to get the purchase at different stages of the customer journey. And when you're getting a lot of visitors, it makes sense to do this. When you're not getting enough visitors, it doesn't make sense, because your audiences are not really going to be large enough for Facebook to do anything with this. But, when you're getting, I'd say, when you're starting to get, thousands of visitors a day, right? And you're going to scale, then I would start setting this up like that. All right, and so I'm showing you this right from the start, because I want you to understand that this is really the only if you want to talk about a back end, this isn't even back end, but if you want to talk about back end, this would be the only real thing here to bring back the customers. So this is all very achievable on just front end sales. All right. And that's just the beginning of a brand process, right? One thing that's important to understand in what we're doing as drop shippers and what we're doing with Facebook ads is it's very direct response marketing. Okay. And that's what I'm showing you here in this video. That's what I teach people inside Ecom Empires. I show people how to do very direct response marketing to make sales right away. It's different than a brand approach where you see a lot of these agencies giving you strategies and talking about how they run ads for brands, but that's a blended approach of like different parts of the funnel with a whole back end built in. And so the way that they spend, the way that they think is going to be different, where this is very focused on just driving sales. And eventually, if you like the store, if you like the brand, you could turn it into a brand approach. You will need to do that eventually. But what I want to share with you right now is that with the exception of the retargeting ads, all 1.8 million in sales on this store have come from one video. Okay. Now, that's obviously a knockout home run kind of product. That doesn't happen every time. But what I'm saying is that it's possible. All right. So to think that you need to go out there and spend thousands of dollars a month on creatives to scale and make money is just simply not true. When you find the right product with the really good video that's made and you have a mass appeal audience, you can scale hard. Now, eventually to keep this going, to keep this brand going, yes, investing in creatives at this point would be the next step, because you're going to need new creatives, you're going to need new stuff to share to go back and continue marketing to the same audience. Investing in a back end is the next step, because that way you can start building the lifetime value of the customer. It's not personally the way that it's not personally what I do as a marketer. I like to focus on the front end. And if I find a brand I think is good, then it can go to the next level. But this one honestly was just like a product to scale it. I'm not really interested in any long-term brand value here, other than possibly trying to exit, looking for a potential buyer that might be interested in scooping this up. All right. So anyway, that's kind of the context of the situation. And I think hopefully a mindset adjustment for a lot of people about what's possible with drop shipping and the kind of things that you really need to focus on, right? You need to focus on finding a really, really good product, obviously, of course. But when I say a good product, again, I mean high perceived value product, okay, that has a good margin. And then you need to get a fantastic video creative made. All right. And you need to test one, and you may need to test a few in the beginning until you find the right one. Obviously, I'm more experienced at this point. The first video just took off right away. But again, that doesn't always happen. So if it doesn't happen, then you can test another video, test a different thumbnail, these types of things until you find the video that works. All right. So let's talk about the testing strategy now. All right. And for some of you that have seen maybe my past videos, this is going to be somewhat of a review of the same strategy that I've been sharing currently right now in 2020. This is my current strategy that is working, that I've already gotten several messages from people that have told me they've used it and it has helped them make a lot of money. And I know it can for you too, and I share it free simply because I love giving the value, and hopefully you go out there and make some money and then you come back to me and say, Nick, man, that really worked. It was incredible. All right, so let's get into it. So starting out with testing, okay, we're testing based on interests. All right. Now, you can test on, when I say interest, I mean demographics, behaviors. There's a lot of stuff that you can test, but mostly I usually focus on interests when I'm looking for a product in the beginning, the initial audiences, okay? And so what I like to do is find 10 audiences. And I'm looking for those audiences to each be around 2 million or more in size. Okay. And the reason for this is because two things. Number one, Facebook has gotten really, really intelligent on being able to just go out there and find your buyers. It used to be years ago, everything when it came to running Facebook ads was all about how precise can you get, how specific can you get. Nowadays, the more precise you get, the higher CPMs you're going to have, first of all, and second of all, you don't really need to, because you can launch. Look, for anybody that may have told you, and let me go jump into the next part right here quickly, $5 budgets, $5 ad set budgets, okay? Daily budgets on each one of these. For anybody that may have been out there and told you, you cannot launch ads to a product with $5 for a broad audience, say millions of people large, and get sales. It's just flat out wrong. 100% wrong. Yes, you can. I do it all the time, and I show people how to do it all the time. All right, and so I like these larger audiences because Facebook is super advanced now and knows how to go out there and find your buyers quickly for your product, and because also it's better to scale, right? Because the next thing, what we want to do when we identify an audience that is good, is we want to scale it. All right, so let's actually jump in here and look now at what it was like in that first couple of days of testing. Okay, so I'm going to go back and switch this. You can see here, these are like campaigns that have been turned off. But let's go back and look at basically those first kind of testing days, which was the 27th to the 31st. And then let's sort by cost per result in that time period. All right, so here's where, so I had my campaigns that were running, and basically I had they were ad set budget campaigns, all right? So what I did is I was running, I guess I can try to open this up here. Like if I, hold on. Okay, so this was the ABO to the product page. And as you can see, I'm testing the $5 budgets here, and basically looking for audiences that are going to start performing quickly. All right. And so these ones are all now, again, they're all off now because at this point, these eventually, like I turned these off. But basically what I was looking for here is something like this. All right. This is an audience that is proven now, and you don't necessarily need a lot of them. All right. Now, if I open up the time span on this, you'll see that eventually these all got more purchases. But when we look at this one here, we see it got 3 sales, $5 per sale. And if we look at the ROAS on this, you're going to see that it was high, right? High ROAS. So that's what I'm looking for. When I am testing audiences in the beginning and I'm testing these 10 interests, all right? What I'm looking for when I set these up is, okay, so there's going to be your campaign, all right? And then you're going to have these 10 audiences in there. Now look, I know that's not 10, but just for example purposes, right? So I'm testing all of these at $5 a day. They're all unique audiences. They're all basically 2 million and plus. Some of them, like anywhere from 2 million to 50 million, I will test as an audience. And I'm setting them up so I can isolate the winners. Right now, they're all running the same video ad too. Okay, they're all running the same video, and I'm looking for proven audiences, which for me, proven, like I said, is 3 sales at like a 3 times ROAS or higher. Once I find that proven audience, I'm going to move it into a CBO. All right. I call this my CBO jump method. What I'll do is I'll take that audience, move it into a CBO. So basically I'm doing this to isolate what's working, right? I want to isolate what's working at a test budget and then scale it to a higher budget quickly in an automated, simple way, right? So I use the CBO because that allows me to use it. I jump it to $100, all right, per day on the CBO campaign level, okay? And inside of that CBO, I'm making 5 duplicate copies of the ad set that was performing. All right. So super simple. You just click duplicate, new campaign, CBO, set it for $100, 5 copies of the ad set inside. right? And then you let it run. And you're going to use your same testing metrics that you use when you're testing at the $5 a day, right? Basically, you're going to have to look at it quicker because you'll get more data back quicker. But I'm not letting all of these continue to run. I will turn off the ad sets that don't perform. It doesn't even matter to me if only one ad set performs. Like it very rarely will all 5 perform, by the way. But what I'm doing, you're creating 5 duplicates because it gives you more chances for Facebook to go out. Because every time you start the ad set, Facebook's going to pick a pocket of that audience and start showing your ad. So by duplicating it 5 times, you already know that this is a winning audience. You're giving yourself more chances to find winning pockets of that audience at a higher budget. And because it's a CBO, once you turn off the ones that aren't performing, you just let the full budget optimize for the ad sets that are performing, and it becomes super automated, super simple. All right. So that's what I was doing in the beginning here. And if let's say we take this out a little bit further from here to like first week of April. All right, so I have all these ad sets that are all getting purchases now at ROAS, and basically every single one of these I'm going to duplicate into a CBO campaign. So now I'll have all of these right at this point, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'll have 7 of these running at $100 a day. So that's how I quickly went on this store, basically from brand new to over, like 2, 3K a day within just a couple of days. That's because I'm identifying these from my tests, right? And then I jump them over into a CBO. I turn off what's not working, and I let the CBO fully optimize for whatever is working. So let me show you an example of that. All right, so here's an example of that where you can see, now again, this is an older example. We're still looking back in the beginning. So like eventually more got turned off than like all of these were running at one point. But here's what I would have done. All right. So you're looking at it within the first day really. And if you see anything that is not getting clicks, like no matter what, same thing as when you're testing here. If something doesn't get a click within the first $5, I turn it off, because that's obviously not performing, okay? And then I'm looking for add to carts next. So the things that you want to know when you're testing is your target add to cart cost and your target cost per purchase, okay? Because these are how you determine when to turn something off that's not working, all right? So your cost per purchase obviously is based on your margin. Your target add to cart cost is generally half of what your target cost per purchase is. All right, so this is important because it helps you shut off things that aren't performing. Like say your target cost per purchase is $35, then your target ATC would be $17. So I know that if I have an ad set that spends $17, it's getting clicks, right? That's why I let it keep spending, but it hasn't gotten a purchase yet. And I check it and it's $17, it also hasn't gotten an add to cart. Well, that's a good sign for me to turn that ad set off and not continue to waste more money on it. Because even if it's getting clicks, if it's not getting add to carts, it's just not working. So, I turn it off. But basically, right, like so with these, what would have happened here is I would have, so running it through the first day, okay, if they're all getting add to carts, sometimes your CBO won't be entirely profitable on the first day. I mean, if you have 5 ad sets that are all getting clicks, all getting add to carts, but not all of them get a purchase the first day, then I'm not going to start turning them off until I see a little bit more data. So all of these you can see eventually these 2 got turned off first, this one first because they were not profitable, right? They got a purchase but not profitable. And then these were all getting purchases at a really profitable rate, sub $15 cost per purchase. So I would have just let these keep running, okay? And I would have had these 3 ad sets active and let Facebook optimize for the full budget on those, all right? So that's the strategy here, okay? And the goal is the way that I look at this is the goal in the beginning is to get as many of these interests using the CBO jump method, turning them into $100 CBOs, because that is a very fast way that you can get to 2 to 5K a day without doing anything else, and it's super automated. Once you go through the initial testing period on the CBO to turn off what's not working. It's so automated. You can literally be printing money without even doing anything other than the customer service, obviously. So this is a really, really good method. Okay. Now, when it comes to scaling that, I want to talk about how you then can scale to like 10K to 15K a day. Okay. Because you can continue testing audiences, right? This is only going to take you so far. Yes, there's many audiences out there, so you can continue. I wouldn't stop at 10, right? I would keep going to eventually I tested 20, right? So eventually I started with 10 and then I added another 10, right? Until I had actually from my 20 that I tested around 10 that were moved over into there, right? And that was able to take me very quickly to 3 to 4K a day on just these. All right. Now the other main component to this is going to be our lookalikes. Okay, lookalikes, and remember, I'm not scaling budgets yet. Okay, I'm just talking about there's two ways of scaling, right? There's basically you can scale by budget, or you can scale by audiences, placements, these types of things, right? So that's horizontal scaling, basically, is what we're still doing now, building the infrastructure, right? As many of the CBO campaigns as we can have, which creates such a solid infrastructure to then start scaling vertically by budget. All right. Which, by the way, I'm just running these on Facebook. Okay. When it comes to other placements like stories, like Instagram, I don't use those. I do automatic placements for retargeting, but when it comes to just scaling, when it comes to testing and like my core stuff, I just do Facebook. Okay. If I wanted to do Instagram, I would test it separately. All right. So lookalikes then, for those of you that don't know, your lookalikes are going to be built from your custom audiences. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is build all of our custom audiences, which I don't do anything, crazy here. I just do the core audiences that everybody should be doing. So there's your standard events, which are view content, add to cart, initiate checkout, and purchase. All right. Then there are your video events, which there's more. I do this. I start with video views 50%, 75%, and 95%. All right. All is separate audiences. Okay. Now there's also 25%, 10 seconds, and 3 seconds. You could test all of them if you wanted to, but I start with these because I think these are your best ones. And then there's engaged ad, engaged with any ad. Okay. And the final one, once you have enough purchases, is your customer list. Okay, you can download your entire customers list from Shopify and just upload it to Facebook as a custom audience. This I recommend doing once a month and creating new audiences that you can test, because as you're scaling every month, you're going to be adding thousands of more customers. So you can do that monthly, right? So I'll create a custom audience for all of these. Okay, that's 9 audiences for all of them, and then creating the custom audience for all of them, and then from that, now taking each one and making lookalikes from it. So the first lookalikes that I'll start with are your core lookalikes, okay? 1 to 10%. So you start out with each one of those 1 to 10%, 1% increments, okay? And that means you'll have 10 audiences for each custom event. So that will end up giving you a total of 90 audiences that you can test. All right, now this is fantastic because these audiences are going to help create so many more CBOs. That's what's going to help us scale. Now, by the way, I would recommend not creating your lookalikes until you've had at least 300 purchases. Okay, I waited until 1,000 purchases or somewhere around there because it's just so much stronger data at that point. But being that purchase is your very bottom of the funnel, by the time you have 300 purchases, the rest of these audiences should already be good. All right. So 300 is generally considered the minimum. I would wait anywhere in 300 to 500 before getting started. And you should be able to get there pretty quickly using these. Okay. So 90 audiences, right? What I'm going to do then is set these all up in a campaign, of course, an ABO campaign for $1.50 each. And the $1.50 budget is, so one campaign using ABO budgets at $1.50 each. $1.50 is for two reasons. One, it helps keep this overall, the spend, like within reason while you're testing, because you're going to be testing 90 audiences. And two, because the $1.50 really forces Facebook to squeeze out like the best of the audience. All right. And it works. And I'm going to show you this now. Let me switch over my screen here. Okay. So when we come in here to the lookalikes, we're going to see that now I broke mine out because I do like 1 to 5%, and then later I go back and do 5 to 10%. So you're going to see like not all of them all the way 1 to 10% are in here, but basically they're all here. All right. And so we're testing these at the $1.50 budget. All right. You see $1.50 budget, and just letting them go until they eventually hit the 3 purchases, right? As soon as I see an audience hit 3 purchases at a positive 3 times ROAS or more, then I will duplicate that into a CBO, all right? It doesn't matter really how long it takes, if it takes longer or if it happens quick. It's all of these. So you can see all of these here. That's like 20 to 25 audiences probably out of that initial test, okay? That was just one of the tests, and then I also tested the 5 to 10%. So you're talking about getting like potentially 30, 40 audiences here that are now all going, right? We're testing them all again in here at the ABO budget, $1.50. Okay, obviously turning off the ones that don't perform. So if eventually it reaches where it's not performing, it gets turned off. And then all of those are getting moved in here into their own $100 CBO. All right, so I duplicate it, same exact way, new campaign, 5 identical copies, let it run, turn off the ones that don't perform, and then it's a super automated way. All right, and then within this testing campaign, all right, I'm going to, of course, turn off anything that doesn't work, and then eventually I'll just have only the active ones running that are working at $1.50. Now, what you can do at that stage, once you have only the ones that are proven to perform, you can duplicate the entire campaign and set them up on $5 budgets, because now you can actually take $1.50 and move it to a $5 budget, which is what I do eventually, and that will allow you to start spending more on these, but also you'll already be only doing it on the proven ones, right? So anyway, at this point now, I have all my CBOs running. This is enough right here at this point to start getting the 15K a day, okay? Because you have so many audiences. This is where on that store started to push to the 15 to 20K a day range just by taking all of these lookalikes and start, taking 30 of them, 40 of them, duplicating them to $100 CBO. You're now talking about having between both of these combined like $5,000 in daily spend at a 3 to 4 times return. You're getting 15 to 20K a day in sales, right? So that is the complete strategy right there to getting to 5-figure days. And we're not even spending a lot yet. Okay. So that's what's so good about this. Now at this point is where we can start vertically scaling, and vertically scaling is going to help you now push to the even higher days. Getting above 20K a day is going to be done with higher budgets. So the way that I scale the CBOs is very simple, which by the way, if you ever take an audience that's a proven audience that's doing well as an ad set budget and you duplicate it to $100 CBO and it just doesn't work at all, it's just not getting sales or the sales are too expensive, what I would do is turn it off and do it again, like duplicate a fresh one and see if it works better. Like I'll always troubleshoot it a little bit before just giving up on it. And if one is working for a while and then stops working, same thing. I'll just recreate the entire campaign fresh, start from scratch and let it go again. Which I've had to do sometimes because, I've had challenges, right? There was one time Facebook disabled the ad account. When it re-enabled, almost everything, performance just went terrible, like nothing of my own fault, my own problem. Facebook just one day while I'm creating ad accounts decides to disable the ad account for suspicious activity. And of course, I got it turned on and up and running again within like 30 hours, I think. But when it turned back on again, the performance had gone to hell. Like it was so much worse. So I had to recreate basically every campaign. And to be honest with you, the performance never really came back the way that it was supposed to, which is why you see, if you see this month, like when I looked at this month compared to last month, basically what happened, on top of Facebook being just weird in August for everybody, not weird, but you know, it's just been a bad month for everybody. If you're in ecom communities, if you're like out there, what is going on here? I'll come back. Okay. If you're out there in the ecom communities, then you've already seen that Facebook has, it's no secret that Facebook is basically really performance is bad across the board for everybody this month, which has a lot to do, I think, with Trump and Biden pumping millions and millions of dollars into election campaigns. Also having a little bit to do with August generally not being a good month for sales in general. And also probably because Facebook's been making a lot of changes this month to their platform, and people have seen it and felt it as well. So you can see, look here, the ad account was disabled. All right. Luckily, I have a backup ad account. So I was able to continue sales running, but it dropped. Like the month started out fantastic and then dropped because the main ad account was disabled, and then I got it back, and then performance has like really been poor since then. So I've started to scale down, but still, you know, you're talking about 670 grand in a month. And the store is still doing 5-figure days, by the way. It's still, look, I'll show you. So if we look at the last 7 days, all right, still, as you can see, the store is still averaging above 10K a day. That's actually right about where it's averaging right now, because I've really taken the ad spend down to about 3K a day at this point, just because I'm writing out some of the changes with Facebook, right? So I'm being transparent with you guys here, but you can see that these strategies were still, you know, able to do everything that I'm showing you. And the thing is too, like I said, I haven't changed the creative yet, right? So obviously you can expect some down to happen at some point. I haven't changed the creative yet. It's still the same exact video that's running. So you guys are basically seeing the strategy and the breakdown of how you can scale to almost $2 million with a single video. And then of course at some point, like moving forward from here, obviously there are new steps to take. If I want to continue with this brand, this product, I would need to start investing some of those earnings into actual creatives to get more stuff made and kind of start over again with some brand new audiences from scratch, right? Because mostly at this point right now, I'm just running lookalike audiences. So anyway, moving into here, right? Now we can start to scale these vertically, okay? And what I like to do is I just duplicate the budget. So I go from 100, it's not an exact duplication, I guess. I go from 100 to 250, and then 250 to 500, and then 500 to 1,000. All right. And of course, you could still keep going up from there, but I generally cap it off at $1,000 per day, because at this point, I am continuing every time I duplicate, right? Every time I go to a new this is a new CBO campaign. All right. And I'll turn back on all the ad sets inside the duplication, and then I will optimize the same way, right? Anything that's not working inside of it, I'll turn off the ad sets. I'll let it optimize the full budget for what is working. And I will continue to let the original run. So again, if I go to 500, so if I end up at 1,000 and all of them are performing, then that means technically on that audience, I'm spending $1,850 per day, because all of these will still be running as well. I will never turn anything off unless it stops performing. And if I find out that I get to an audience, say I go to 500 and it doesn't work, okay, so I found a sweet spot at 250. If I have a really, there's two things you can do in this situation, okay? So sometimes you, like an audience, for whatever reason, you just can't scale it past a certain point of daily budget. All right, so if I go to 500, it doesn't work, then I know 250 is my sweet spot. You can either duplicate horizontally with that audience, so like basically duplicate more CBO campaigns if it's a large enough audience, right? If we're talking about an audience of like 10 million plus, then you could duplicate out horizontally as many copies as you want, because you know this budget's a sweet spot. So by duplicating more copies of that campaign, it lets you be able to reach more of that audience, all right? Turn off the ones that aren't working, keep the ones on that are working. So that's one thing that you can do. Another thing you can do is you can try, if it's performing really good and you see it's performing well over a consistent period, then you can try going in and just raising the budget on the CBO itself. I've done that before. So like it wasn't working, but I just noticed the 250 or whatever, 100. Actually, one day I did it on a $100 CBO because I just couldn't understand why it wasn't working when I was duplicating it, which is a rare situation, but it happens sometimes. And it was working so well at $100 and it had been optimized already for like 2 weeks. I was like, you know what, screw it. So I went from $100 on the CBO to $1,000 that day, right around 6 a.m. when I know traffic usually starts picking up, and it continued to perform well. Like the cost per purchase went up a little bit, but it was stable, and it continued to just like move right into the $1,000 budget and continue to perform. So those are two things you can try if your duplication is not working. All right. And that's basically, look, so this right here is like a proven path to get to above $20,000 a day. All right. Now, another thing that you can do in your lookalikes is what I call my CBO stack strategy. Okay, and so this works with your lookalikes as well, but I call it a stack strategy because we break out the lookalikes differently. So when we do the CBO stack strategy, basically what this does is we'll take the custom audience. So let's take view content, for example. And instead of like what we do here is we break out 1 to 10%, so we can test each one individually and scale, like isolate each one into its own CBO. But what this strategy does is it combines broader segments of the lookalikes into one CBO campaign at a higher budget, so you can hopefully scale it more. Because the thing with this is when you're doing this audience here, like just a 1% segment, for the US, it's going to be about 2 million people. If it's for a different part of the world, it could be even smaller than that. So like a 2 million size audience is good, but it's not really something you can continue to scale like maybe a 10 million size audience. Okay. It's going to burn out eventually, especially if you're trying to push to $1,000 a day on a 2 million size audience. It's going to burn out pretty quickly if you're only using one creative, especially. Okay. So what the CBO stack does is it gives more room to be able to scale by building broader audience segments. So then what we do for this is you do this for each custom audience, by the way, and you're going to break it out into these segments. So you'll have 1%, you'll have 3%, 5%, 7%, and you guessed it, 10%. All right, so what these are basically, this is just 1%, right? So this would technically be 1 to 3%. This would be 3 to 5%, 5 to 7, and 7 to 10. Okay, and that's going to give you different varying size audiences that end up, like this audience will end up being like the biggest one, obviously. And then you put these all just as they are, like this, into one CBO campaign. So these would all become an ad set. All right, and you're using the most proven type of you're using your most proven ad, right? Sorry, I stumbled on that one. Whatever your proven winning ad is, you're just using that here as well. That's what I'm using in the lookalikes as well, by the way. So you put that in here, ad set for each one, and then set the overall campaign budget to $250 a day. All right. So you'll do that for each of these custom audiences. So that's going to give you 9 CBO stack audiences that we're also going to, right? These are also part of our CBO strategy now. And if these work, same thing. You're starting at a higher level, okay, because broader audiences. So better to start at 250 minimum. And then, this is going to give you room to scale more. Like one of these 1% audiences, I would generally never take past $250 a day. But one of these you can take all the way up to $1,000 a day, because if you have broader audiences, right? So same thing, not all of these audiences will work. You shouldn't expect them to all work. You'll turn off whatever is not working and let the budget optimize for whatever is working, and then look to scale it by the budget, okay? So these are all automatic bidding strategies. Okay, for the purposes of this video, I'm not going to get into the manual bid strategies. I do have another video on that you could see inside Ecom Empires if you join the group and just check the units section. I have an entire unit in Ecom Empires that breaks down each of my CBO strategies individually so you can see each one. But yeah, this right here, guys, this is an absolutely proven way to scale from 0 to $1 million. All right. Now the rate at which you do it in might take you longer, might be quicker. Like you could do this. I did it in the first 4 months. The store reached $1 million. Right. So if we go back and we look at when did this store break $1 million, if we look at April 1st to July 31st, which is 4 months, the store had already crossed $1 million in sales. And by a lot, and most of that obviously was in July, scaling to 750,000, which, by the way, would have happened much quicker. But in June, actually, I turned the ads off for 3 months because of private labeling the product and also having some, again, Facebook Ads Manager being disabled. This ads account was disabled 3 total times in scaling this store. Every time I got it back, but it's created challenges, and so like that does happen. Facebook has been crazy with disabling ad accounts lately. But anyway, so this strategy, it may take you longer to get to $1 million, but I guarantee that using this you can get there, and you can get to 30K plus days using this strategy as well, because it's all based on, right? So this starting to increase the budgets and adding these CBO stacks, this is what brought it the extra amount to the $30,000 per day. All right, and just to show you again with that, let's look at the month of July. Yeah, July. Let's look at the month of July. So you can see we did well over 30K a day, many days using this strategy, okay? And the CBO stacks are really what helped give it that extra boost. Like everything I showed you here is what got us to above 20K a day, but then adding these CBO stacks, having this is really what helped push it. Now I also do have, again, there is some manual bidding methods that I used, but to be honest, they only accounted for maybe 10% of those sales on like those big days. So really you can still get to the 30K a day range using just this. And the manual bidding strategies, like I said, you can look up in the group. Now, a few things to remember about this, all right? This is really, really automated because you're running CBO campaigns. And so once you have these running, like you're really just monitoring them from day to day. There are days that I don't even look at them because I just kind of know within my overall ROAS, if the store is profitable on the overall daily spend, then, there's no reason to really look at it. But I do go in and check it still, of course, because you can try to optimize and find where this stuff, like if your ROAS starts to dip, you go in and you look for where are you spending too much? Where are your ads underperforming? So you can turn stuff off and then possibly create new audiences, right? Create new CBO campaigns, continue testing new stuff. But most of that is super automated, and you don't have to put in a lot of time to run a store like this. Now, the other thing is, I am running Google Ads, but Google Ads again are not making up a large percentage of the sales. So once Facebook was all like really good to go, started running Google campaigns, not shopping campaigns, and not search campaigns. It's not really a good product for search, but running display marketing campaigns. Okay, those have proven to be really high ROAS. Like if we look at so just looking in the month of August, you can see these. So this is a display campaign, as you can see. Which one is this? Okay, this is the display marketing campaign that was spending about $100 a day. Fantastic return, right? Almost a 6 times return. Probably more. I don't think it's even calculated all the conversions yet because it takes Google like a week to do that. This is a search campaign, basically a brand name search campaign. So that's working fantastic. The ROAS on this is incredible. It's like 7 times or more more than that, 7 times. It's like, I'm trying to do the math here. It's like I don't know. It's a lot, man. I'm not figuring out the numbers in my head right now. It's like 70 times. Yeah. And then here, this is a discovery remarketing campaign that doesn't spend much but does well, and this is something different down here. So yeah, you can see the Google overall has probably in the last month contributed to around a little shy of 10% of the sales. So it is doing well, but again, most of this is still happening through Facebook, still over a $600,000 a month just with the Facebook ads. Right, and so the final thing to consider here as we get this all in the screen, right, the final thing to consider here is then going to be basically looking at your customer service, okay? Customer service is what automates this entire thing, all right? Having a VA team that can handle all the incoming emails and the comments on the post and the messages your page will get, and basically teaching them to do everything, right? Like in the beginning, especially if you're just getting started and you haven't actually created any sort of standard operating procedure yet, this stuff is not difficult, to be honest. It's just a matter of doing the work yourself first and then teaching somebody else to do exactly what you've been doing, and like documenting what you did and how to do it in a video, and then showing them that video, asking them if they have any questions. So, and you can also now in your email softwares, you can create, so I use Help Scout, right? And you add them as a user and create templates, okay? So order shipping update template, and adding a template for if they ask for a return, or adding a template for anything. Basically, when you see the top common things that are coming in, you're going to find out there's generally template responses that can be used as a guideline for your VA team. And then you can make sure you're having make sure you have enough VAs to be able to get back to people and handle the incoming tickets amount. Like I can tell you right now that with when you're doing this sort of volume per month, you're going to be receiving probably at least 100 emails a day, and that's not only from people who want to know where their order is, but also people maybe who received their order. So like 100 emails a day may be a lot, maybe it's not that many, but it's also, you're getting inquiries from people on the contact form, and you're getting messages. So you're going to need, like I have 3 VAs operating on this store right now, just this store alone. All 3 of them are full-time. One's a team leader that I trained basically over time on how to deal with everything when it comes to this product. And then there's somebody also full-time that's just working on the emails. And then there's somebody who works on the emails and then also deals with the store messages and the comments on the ads as well. All right, so like as you scale, you're going to need to scale your VA team too. And if you have a good VA, or if you use a service, they should help you understand when it's time to add a new person. But it's really important that you keep on top of that. Otherwise, you could end up in a nightmare of emails that need to be responded to if you're not keeping up with it as you go. All right, so that's going to be what keeps, this is the backbone of everything, because good customer service is going to help you keep your chargebacks down, your disputes down, your refunds down, and help you like really optimize and automate everything so that you can basically focus on whatever you want to do. Another store, another stuff, watch Netflix, like, whatever. It really only takes, at the max, even if you're new, I'd say it's only going to take 2 to 3 hours a day to manage something like this. And you can be making, a good income every single month for using this strategy. All right, so that's everything, guys. I think that let me talk about one other thing. So I'm using Shopify payments and PayPal on the store. Okay. If you're not able to use Shopify payments, then you should look at setting up a LLC in the US, or looking into Stripe Atlas, which works with outside, like if your Shopify payments is not available. And then also for ad accounts, right? You should try to have more than one ad account, okay? Because it's always good to have a backup ad account when you're scaling. There are apps that will allow you to put more than one pixel on your store so that you can keep all of that stuff safe. Your data is safe on a backup account in case one account goes down, right? I've done that before as well. And you can share the video from account to account, or share the page, so that you don't want to try to circumvent the system, but you can share the page so that you can run ads from more than one account to the same video. And you can also have more than one pixel on your store so that you're getting all of that stuff stored in more than one place, okay? But yeah, that's everything. Listen, if you want to get more of this, you can join the Ecom Empires group. Like I said, there's a unit in there that covers all of this kind of in more detail, and I continue to put out more content and more information, and showing you guys that you can start from zero with $5 budgets, scale to $1 million very quickly using dropshipping, using the methods that I show you and have been teaching since 2016. This stuff still works, and this is the most up-to-date Facebook ad strategy that is not only crushing it for me, but is also crushing it for the people that I share this with that actually implement it and try it. So I hope you got a ton of value from this video. Definitely let me know. Join the group if you're not already there. There's tons of good stuff going on in there. We have basically the best ecom community on the planet in Ecom Empires, and I look forward to helping you guys scale. Best of luck. Live free.